Throughout history, every so-called golden era hid the same uncomfortable truth. Wealth was never truly secure. Not during mighty empires, not through revolutions, and definitely not in the short-lived calm between one war and the next. From ancient palaces to imperial courts, the powerful always understood something ordinary people didn't. Money wasn't just money. It was protection, influence, and a lifeline when chaos arrived. While the masses trusted whatever system ruled their lives, the elite learned to guard themselves from the system itself. So the real question isn't how they became wealthy. It's how they preserved their power while everything around them collapsed. To answer that, we need to travel back to the world's earliest centers of concentrated wealth, to a time when being rich meant controlling resources no one else could reach. In ancient Mesopotamia, 4 millennia before Christ, the wealthiest families didn't simply hide silver in storerooms. They locked their fortunes inside temple loans, land leases, and trade networks stretching from one kingdom to another. Temples served as both sacred spaces and economic fortresses, the first true central banks. Touching temple property meant defying the gods themselves, making elite fortunes practically untouchable. Egypt's rulers mastered a similar strategy. Their wealth lived in farmland along the Nile, in grain reserves, and in the gold fields of Nubia. These weren't assets that governments could seize without ripping apart the entire state. Noble families often tied their land to temple estates, early versions of trusts, ensuring that wealth remained in the bloodline no matter who sat on the throne. Move forward to classical Greece, and a new pattern appears: mobility. Greek traders understood that one political shift could erase everything. So they held deposits in different city-states, invested in ships, and built partnerships across the Mediterranean. It was one of the earliest forms of offshore protection, spreading wealth across borders long before banks existed. Rome perfected this idea. Roman elites lived through dictators, civil wars, and mass confiscations. They knew how fast fortunes could vanish. Their solution: owning land in multiple provinces, financing tax farming, and lending money to foreign rulers, debts guaranteed by Roman power itself. They didn't just diversify assets, they diversified jurisdictions. As the Western Empire crumbled, wealthy families quietly shifted their money into private estates, strongholds, and independent trade networks. By the time Rome fell, the imperial treasury was empty, but elite families still had land, resources, and manpower. The state died. Their wealth didn't. In medieval Europe, the church became the safest vault on the continent. Kings could seize a rival's estate, but property dedicated to a monastery? Off limits. This allowed noble families to store wealth under religious protection. Banking dynasties like the Medici improved this even further using bills of exchange, early paper credit, allowing fortunes to move across borders unseen. Across the Islamic world, merchants relied on the Hawala network, a trust-based system that moved money without physically transporting it. Rulers couldn't confiscate what they couldn't trace. Diversification, mobility, invisibility, the same old principles perfected. When nation-states grew stronger in the early modern era, influential merchant families adapted again. They funded governments, supplied navies, and bought state bonds. In return, they gained exemptions and privileges that made their wealth politically untouchable. When crises hit, ordinary citizens paid the price. The elite often came out richer. Across thousands of years, the pattern never changed. Protecting wealth always depended on two principles: control, owning assets that generate real value; distance, spreading those assets across different systems so no single event can destroy everything. The elites of the past understood something that still applies today. Money held entirely inside one system is money that can disappear. And in our world, where bank accounts can be frozen instantly, currencies can crash overnight, and inflation quietly erodes savings, that lesson matters more than ever. The strategies have new names now: international diversification, private holdings, precious metals, alternative assets. But the logic is identical. Stability is temporary, until the day it isn't. Real financial freedom isn't about how much you earn, it's about how much survives the storms. History has the answers, and there's much more to uncover. Please subscribe and support me to keep this kind of content coming. Goodbye.